Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us this evening, especially on this cold afternoon that I'm pretty certain no one predicted. I want to go ahead and introduce our Mayor Pro Tem, John Shildroff. He will provide the invocation for us this evening.
Just a little bit. Thank you, Marcia. I'd like to welcome you too. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this organization, and we thank you for National Preservation Month and the National Tourism Week, Lord, that you have provided. Lord, just be with us now as we go through this award ceremony. We thank you for everything that you've done, all the blessings that you give us each day, that you have given us, you will give us in the future, Lord, for we know you are the provider of everything. Lord, just be with us now. We thank you. For it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
All right. Well, we will try to move quickly through the program so no one freezes tonight. Again, my name's Marcia Hampton. I am the Community and Downtown Services Director with the City of Douglasville. And thank you all for coming. This is actually our first time doing an event such as this. Typically, for those of you who have participated with us with preservation activities in the past, we have typically held this event in conjunction with the county during a lunch event, and we alternated years, as well as celebrating Tourism Week with the Coffee Cart Exchange. Well, this year, our Coffee Cart Exchange was at the Public Safety Building. Some of you attended that. It was a very large event, very, very good time. And we decided as a staff, we thought it would be a good opportunity for us to revamp the event and how we celebrate tourism and preservation. So what a better way than hosting an event in our historic district at one of the locations that actually listed on the National Registry, and that is our Cultural Arts Center. It is a tourist attraction. The street behind us, Campbellton Street, is a very busy street, as you know, and it's a great entry into our downtown area, which many of our visitors redirect them to come. So we wanted to make certain that you knew that tourism as well as preservation in the month of May is very important to us. So this is in honor of that celebration. I'm going to introduce to you Randy Miles, our Convention and Visitors Bureau Director. She will talk to you this afternoon about some of the initiatives we have taken in tourism and some of the awards that we are presenting this afternoon. And following Randy, Renee Kale, our Historic Preservation Commission Chair this year, will present the Historic Preservation Awards that we issue each year. So once again, thank you all for coming, and Randy, I'll turn it over to you.
Hello, everyone. As she said, I'm the sales manager for the Convention and Visitors Bureau. And as many of you know, last week was National Travel and Tourism Week, which we try to at least do a little bit for each year. It started in 1984 after it was signed into a resolution for President Reagan in '83. And one of the things that we do in honor of this week is the Hospitality Awards. This year, we give those awards to those who go above and beyond to promote Douglasville as a destination. Our first award is the Spirit Award. And this award goes to a person who is very active on our CVB board. She is one of our volunteers anytime she steps up, anytime she gets a chance. And the recipient of this award is Tamara Manny. And she's been on the board almost 2 years now. So thank you, Tamara. And our second award member recipient is actually not here today, but it is the Hospitality Worker of the Year Award. And it was actually voted on by our entire hospitality community. Nominations were given, and she actually received the #1 votes. But she works for La Quinta Inn and Suites, and she's also a member of our board. And this award goes to Charlene Tillman, who is unable to be with us today, but we wanted to go ahead and recognize her. And this year, for the first time, we did a Discover Douglasville photo contest. We actually had a great response for our first year. We had over 28 photos. Once we got those in, we put them on Facebook and allowed the community to vote. And we actually had a lot of people come out and vote for those awards. So we actually have them posted throughout the CAC, and I'm sure you saw a lot of the beautiful pictures as you walked around. This year we did 2 honorable mention photos, and that first award is going to go to Carrie Lahue, and this is her picture. And our other honorable mention award goes to Rachel Austin and Peyton Rogers, who are Dennis McLean's grandchildren. Thank you, guys. And our third place goes to Erin Thompson. You're welcome. Our second place goes to Dominique Champinot. Thank you. And our first place winner is Adam Cash. And thank you everyone for entering. And next we have Renee Kell with the Historic Preservation Commission.
Hello. You've seen the screen popping up, and this year our motto is Celebrating America's Treasures. And we've all heard that old saying, one man's trash is another man's treasure. And that's never been truer than in a historic district. And being a homeowner, I cannot tell you how many times I've heard that remark, and I have to stand here and tell you I agree wholeheartedly with that. It takes a very special person or a group of people to perform the magic that it takes to transform what many may see as trash into the treasures that our city holds. People with the insight to picture the past, to vision to see all the future possibilities, and a passionate love for preservation that it takes to turn the illusion into a reality. Tonight we honor those who, whether it be by love, passion, or duty, that have helped the city of Douglasville recognize our treasures, and those who, by their continued support and efforts, maintain those treasures, keeping them from becoming another man's trash. Our Historic Preservation Commission, one of our purposes is to assist and guide the homeowners and the business owners with repairs and additions, alterations, or basic maintenance to their historic properties. But lately, with the economy being what it is, we've not had many cases come before us for major projects. Most people are just doing the least amount of repairs that are necessary. However, if you'll take a stroll or a drive through the historic district, you'll see many homes that look as though time has stopped. They are as beautiful today as they were when our founding fathers laid the first foundation stones. Those homes are what has prompted the Historic Preservation Commission to establish an annual historic property maintenance award to be presented to those who have faithfully maintained their properties, keeping the integrity of the structures intact and in good shape, and keeping the curb appeal eye-catching and awe-inspiring. This year's award goes to a couple whose home fits every requirement and then some. Neil and Wilbur are no strangers to life in an older home. Neil was born and raised in Morningside neighborhood and later in Ansley Park, where Wilbur was also born and raised. When transferred here by Georgia Power in 1977, they looked for an older neighborhood, and on their 10th wedding anniversary, Wilbur found just what they were looking for: a beautiful turn-of-the-century farmhouse complete with a pressed tin roof. Was it just a coincidence that the medal for the 10th anniversary was 10? Wilbur wrote in his anniversary card that he had found their house, and as soon as Neil entered the front door, she was convinced and was immediately ready to make an offer. The house had previously had several owners, even for a time was used as a duplex. In spite of the changes in ownership and the changes in the uses of the home, it has retained much of its original fixtures and details, like the mantel that Wilbur found a tag behind where it had been sold to the Nichols family, the original owners, from the Queen Mantle and Tile Company. Renovations included updates to the bathroom and the kitchen, reflooring the front porch, replacing the plaster with sheetrock in 3 bedrooms, and the restoration of the ceiling in the master bedroom to the original height of 11 feet. It took a month before they received the news that their offer had been accepted, and they packed up their son Lou, who was 5 years old, and moved to Douglasville. They settled into life in historic downtown area, and 6 years later welcomed their daughter Elizabeth into their family. The Blackmans have said that living in the downtown area mirrors the feelings of the neighborhoods in Atlanta where they grew up. When the Blackmans moved to Douglasville, they were amongst the youngest of their neighbors, and now they are one of 3 remaining original residents from 1977. Throughout the past 43 years, is that correct? I thought my math might be, I did it twice. Throughout the past 43 years, their family has grown with in-laws, grandchildren, and the infamous Mike and his pals. It will not be many more years before the Blackmans reach their golden anniversary, but I'm sure they would tell you that nothing is more precious to them than 10. The Historic Preservation Commission is so honored to present the first annual Historic Property Maintenance Award to Mr. and Mrs. Wilbur Blackman of 8537 Price Avenue. This is for y'all. Thank you. And this has you as the first one. And this will be hung in City Hall. And we'll add to it every year. Thank you. Thank you. You want to hold this? You have to give it back. I'm watching you, Wilbur. Also every year, the Historic Preservation Commission presents the Donald Bennett Memorial Award. This award goes to an individual who has shown outstanding support and dedication to historic preservation. Our recipient this year meets that criteria and lives it every day. Gary was born and raised in Akron, Ohio. He went on to achieve a higher education at Wittenberg University and also studied at the Harvard Graduate School of Design and their special programs in city and regional planning. Gary's interest in historic preservation began in college during his architectural studies, and a term of living and working in the historic city of Cincinnati served to turn that interest into a passion in the following years. In 1979, Gary moved to Georgia and applied that interest and passion to his job as he served as Community Development Director for the City of Douglasville from 1991 to 2000 during the early stages of historic preservation and tourism in the city. Gary was able to put that same passion into personal action in 1996 when he purchased the historic Merritt Tidwell House here on Campbellton Street, just 2 doors up. He and his partner, Shelley Holloway, worked tirelessly to preserve and enhance the house and the gardens. This summer, they will be constructing a barn on the long-abandoned foundation in the backyard, carefully designed to be consistent with the historic character of the neighborhood. Shelley and Gary, along with Sadie the dog and Pasha the cat, try to be good stewards of the history in the community and the signature home that they tend. The City of Douglasville's Historic Preservation Commission would like to present the 2011 Donald Bennett Memorial Award to Mr. Gary Tilt.
Thank you very much.
Here's the camera. If you need that. Yes. You have to give that back too.
I'm Pat Smith with the Historic Preservation Commission. And almost a year ago now, I received an email. I'm on this listserv about historic preservation and everything from the city of McDonough, where they had a historic stroll with the mayor. And I got to thinking, you know, if McDonough, which is where my brother lives, if they can do it, we can do it too. So I sent an email to Mayor Thompson and to Marcia Hampton, and the rest is history. And I'd like to present now the historic stroll with the mayor through the city of Douglasville.
Well, good morning, and thank you for joining us today on our Historic District Stroll. We're walking through downtown Douglasville, and visiting some of the fine people who live in some of these great homes that we've got in the historic district. Our first stop today is at 8566 Campbellton Street with Pat and Jim Smith. Thank you very much for inviting us.
Well,
Thank
we're
you, Mr.
glad you
Mayor.
came, Mayor.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you today and talk a little bit about your beautiful home.
Well, we both love living in downtown Douglasville. I was raised around here. My grandparents lived over on Brown Street. I have a great uncle who worked at the mill when it was in full force back in the 1940s. So I've been around here all my life. And I've always loved this home. I used to drive past it when we lived over in Arbor Station, and I just always glanced over here and looked at this home. And in 2000, the homeowner who had been renting the home for several years decided that she was going to put it on the market. And it had to be providential because I was driving down Campbellton Street and she was coming out of the door with the sign, for sale sign.
Is that right? So
Yep.
you stopped her from putting it up?
I turned around and came back and I was like, oh my gosh, you are putting this house up for sale. We talked for a few minutes. I said, take the sign back in and let me see the house.
Is that right?
I've
What a story.
always loved it. And then the barn in the back, that was my big selling point. I love our over 100-year-old barn back there. We're really trying to preserve that. That's a big piece of history here in Douglasville.
Sure, and this was, I understand, a farmhouse in Douglasville, and that was the original barn.
It was. And it's really interesting. We have a picture that one of our neighbors gave us that was when the house 2 doors down used to be the old city swimming pool. And you see women in the swimming pool, and that was in 1912, and our barn is in the background. So,
Is that
yeah,
right?
it's
That's
wonderful.
amazing.
Wonderful.
Are there particular architectural features that led you to choose this particular home?
We love it because it does look like just like you see them out in the country. The old farmhouse with the porch. You know, we expect to see the cattle coming around the side any minute. The front of the house, we always say, you feel like you're in the city because you're on a busy street and all of that. You can sit on the porch and wave to neighbors, and people see us out in the yard, and they're always blowing the horn at us. But you go to the back porch, the screened-in back porch, and you have the barn and the woods, and you feel like you're in the country.
Like
So
being
it's
in the
excellent.
country.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you said that you and Jim had lived in Arbor Station, which was really the first planned unit development that was in Douglas County, as a matter of fact. How did you choose the historic district to be your new home?
Well, when we lived in our first home, I was transferred to Virginia. We lived in Richmond for a year, then moved to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and then I was transferred back down. Well, actually, Pat moved back down here first, and it was, as she said, it was ironic. She was driving down the street. We knew we were moving back here. At what point, we didn't know. And she found it, and she says, Jim, I found the house we're going to buy.
But I forgot to tell him there was a little bit of work we had to do to it first.
Well, there always is with
Yeah.
homes, and you've done a
Always.
great
And
job
then your
keeping this one up.
grandparents in Pennsylvania, he's from Pennsylvania, and tell him about that house that they lived in, which was similar except 2 stories.
It was it was a 3-story house, and it was the old northern, even old Europe. The house sat practically, you stepped off the porch and you were on the sidewalk, and your neighbor was probably about that wide enough for a gate that you could go between the houses and get into the backyard. There was no front yard.
But that was more the historic area of Hanover, Pennsylvania. And he always loved his grandparents' house and being right on the sidewalk and the busy street and everything. And so I'm a big history buff, and as you know, I'm big on historic preservation. I think we really, really, really have to preserve what we have.
Sure.
My barn is a good case in point. I mean, I'll fight anybody over that one. It's just always been in my blood. I love the historic district, and because my family has lived here, I've always wanted to be here, and I'm just very happy to be right where I'm at.
Well, and you've worked hard. I know you served on our Historic Preservation Commission, and we appreciate that. We appreciate y'all letting us stop by today. We've got a group of folks, as you can see here, a wonderful group, and we're walking around Douglasville and visiting people, fine folks like you that live in the historic district.
Well, and we always love our neighbors coming by to see us.
Yep.
That's right.
Miss Paget, Shelley.
Well, it certainly was a pleasure joining you today as we stroll around Douglasville. Would you care to join us on the next section of our tour?
I'm going to take you up on that offer, Mr. Mayor, but I believe Jim has something that he has to do. He can't, but I'm going to take you up on the offer.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that.
Yes.
Okay. This house the property was sold and owned by Young Van Zandt. And his property joined it, and so he sold it to the James family.
Get some of those tax dollars.
Isn't that great?
Now
you see that?
That was beautiful.
See that? And see that there's only one other house in town that I know that has those.
I've never seen one.
See
If I saw
that?
it, I didn't recognize it.
No, that's typical of what they would have had in Bath, England in the 1500s. So why someone just came to Douglasville and put that on two houses?
They might have made a trip there or something and decided that,
So I decided they wanted to build
that's what
one
they
of
wanted.
But
That place is going to be gorgeous when they get it renovated
it's
and
going to be
finished.
great.
Well, you know, it is very difficult now to find a mason that knows how to build a real masonry chimney.
Right,
And
right.
so to try to build that, you probably would not be able to find someone.
Well, I don't know if that'll be a functioning fireplace when they finish with it, but they'll leave the chimneys though.
Oh, yeah.
I'm fascinated with those
Yep.
chimneys. Okay.
Oh, I see
All
we
right.
have more neighbors up here. Let's
Oh,
go up
yeah.
the street.
All right.
More neighbors are coming.
My granddaughter could work.
Well, we're on our next stop on the tour, and we are at 8545 Price Avenue. We're at the wonderful, beautiful home, if you look at it behind us, of Marcy and Josh Gibson. Thank you very much for coming out and talking with us
problem.
today.
Thanks for coming by.
Yes, thank
Thank
you.
you.
And I understand that your home, well, I know it did because I remember seeing you guys work on it so long and so hard, needed a lot of repair.
Yes.
When you first moved in, and you put a beautiful addition onto the home also. And can you tell us a little bit about what you had to do to the home?
Sure. Well, the story is Josh and I got married in September of '04, and my grandfather owned this home, Donald Bennett. And I asked him if we could maybe just clean up the house a little bit for our wedding reception. And he came back about a week later and asked if we would want to live in the home. And when Josh and I came through the home, we looked at it, and our immediate thought was never, no way, because there was too much to be done. But then we kind of started thinking about it and realized the potential, and got to work. And that was January of '04 that he asked us, and we wound up purchasing the home from him. And in September of '04 we got married, so it was 9 months that we did a complete restoration of this home. Took it down to, the lathing strips, took all the plaster down, and put new sheetrock and insulated the home.
New electrical, new plumbing.
Yes.
So it was kind of a 9-month dash
Yeah,
that
to build a new
to
house,
that finish
sounds
line,
like.
right? To get married and actually have the reception at the
Yes.
home. So.
Well, it looks beautiful, and I know Mr. Bennett remodeled a lot of the homes in the downtown area, and not just in the downtown area, even in some of the commercial buildings. And I know you had someone that was really knowledgeable to learn from and to
Right.
show you some of the tricks of the trade. And I've looked, your home's been on the tour, and I see it's on the spring tour of homes this year. We appreciate you doing that. And it's very obvious when you go in the home, all the things that you had to do. And I don't know how you learn how to do all of those things.
Well, I think you just said it. We had a good teacher, and that's
Yeah.
it. Kind of we've taken on a couple projects since then, and it's just something that we have a passion for now.
Sure.
And this was a big family effort, not just my grandfather, but Josh's parents and mine, and even aunts and uncles would come for work days. So it just makes us that much more proud of our home, knowing what kind of love went into it.
Well, as you start your family, and there's always a decision you make on where you're going to locate, and you're in the historic district. Was that a part of your choice in raising your family in the historic district, or can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I think it's definitely something I'm excited for our boys to experience as they grow up. I mean, for us, this is probably arguably one of the prettiest parts of town, being in the historic district, and obviously the variety of architecture that exists in our historic district. So I don't know if beforehand it was a conscious decision, but now that we're here and we kind of have this passion for the historic architecture and homes, I'm glad that the boys will experience this growing up.
Sure. and you're just a short distance from the plaza, the downtown area, and you mentioned the beautiful part of town. It certainly is. Price Avenue intersects, if you go directly up, it intersects with the plaza, and at Christmas time, when all the Christmas lights and everything, it's a beautiful street. It really is.
It's great. During the summer, we have the concerts on the plaza, and we can always hear the music. We can sit on the porch and listen to the concerts from here, and I mean, it's a great area.
You can just stay at home. Well, thank y'all for what you've done. Thank you for allowing us to come by and talk with you, and thank you for sharing your home with others. Each year you do that so graciously and inviting folks through and letting people look at your wonderful home, and we're very proud of this home and proud of what you've done.
Thank you.
Yeah. It was good seeing you today. And thank y'all for joining us on this stop. Says, I think this is right, but you'll have to check with Miss Paget.
Right. That's right. That's exactly. Well, you know my reputation, though, don't you, Mickey? I'm the oldest female who can still stand on my own 2 feet and remember what I had for breakfast.
Well, I hope I can say that.
Yeah, I'm sure you can. One I planted in 1992, and it was about this high when I planted it.
Right.
Look at those.
Look at the big
crows.
You
know what?
Hey, does that scare anything off? I need some of those in my lake.
This little house was in such bad shape it was falling
It was
in.
condemned,
There was
actually, I
even
think.
some rags in place of broken windows. And so they took it as far down as the city would allow them to, and built it back.
We went in there and I said, well, who builds a wall right down to the bathtub? So if you were sitting in the bathtub, your feet could be down here and you couldn't see them because the wall was right there.
They built that.
Who in the world did that? I don't know.
Dad, I remember when it was done.
It was crazy.
I remember.
Well, welcome to our last stop on our walk around the historic district today. We're at 8556 Bowden Street, the beautiful home of Ms. Renee Cale. Thank you very much for allowing us to stop by and talk with you today.
I appreciate y'all stopping by.
Well, it's our pleasure. I understand that this is your second renovation in the downtown area. The home almost directly across the street was your first renovation, and it's a beautiful home. So is this.
Well, thank you.
But I know it's a labor of love when you do that, and it's a tremendous amount of work. But what made you sell a beautiful home already, buy another one, and go through the whole process again?
Well, when I bought the one across the street, the plan was to stay there for like 3 to 5 years and build up enough money to build me a home on my family property out in Winston. But I got up here and I fell in love with the area and the convenience of walking to town and restaurants and shopping and all that. So earlier in the plan, I'd been there only across the street only 2 years when this one came up for sale, and I walked in and fell in love, and I love the old homes, the characters and the character of it, the quirkiness, and just you don't get the kind of quality of millwork and stuff in the newer homes that you find in the older ones. The plaster walls, all the things that are so hard to keep up.
To fix and
That's
repair.
right. To repair, to
things
keep
like that.
up. Yeah.
And how long did it take you to do the restoration?
The bottom floor I did within like 9 months because somebody talked me into being on the holiday tour of homes.
Oh, yes. Probably part of this group that's with us
Yes,
today.
someone with this
We won't
group.
mention any names.
And then once I did that, I was able to finish the upstairs. So it took me basically about 2 years. Now the outside still needs a lot. I've got a window project planned for this year, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, reglazing. So yeah,
Okay.
anyone that wants to help with that's more than welcome to come by and help. I could use all the help I could get.
Now, I know you are the president, chairman
Yes,
of
chairperson.
the Historic Preservation Commission, which approves the changes and all the things that are done to homes in the downtown area. How does that work with being a homeowner and being the president of the organization? Does it help, hurt?
A little of both. It helps me because when someone comes before us for a certificate of appropriateness, I can empathize with what they're going through. Owning one of these homes myself in the district, I know that the challenges that they're up against, and I know the difficulties that it is to try to fix your home, but then fix it within a set of guidelines. But then also it kind of hurts me in a way because I'm neighbors with all these people.
Sure.
And when someone comes before you for certificate of appropriateness and things are just not right and you have to kind of guide them in a different direction or just tell them, that's not going to work, then it kind of makes it difficult, next time you're out planting flowers and somebody walks by, hey neighbor, how's that project going? So it's a plus and a minus in certain ways, but it's better. I think the pluses outweigh the minuses because it helps me, know what they're going through.
Sure. And I know the City Council has worked with the Commission so that homeowners have a wider range of products that they can use and make it easier and less costly to renovate the home.
Yes, there was some recent changes in the guidelines which kind of brought in the availability of the newer products that are on the market today. The green products, the more energy efficient, which when you use those products, it helps with you get tax breaks and all that stuff. So the changes in the guidelines have helped us bring in the newer products.
Well, great.
And help the homeowner out a little bit.
Well, thank you for coming out and talking with us today.
Welcome.
And Donna, I understand that you know a lot about the history of this house and some of the people who lived in it before. Could you share that with our audience today?
Gee. Yeah, well, I know a lot about a lot of these houses, but this one, a justice of the peace lived here. And many, and we lived right up the street. So many Saturday nights, young couples would come and they'd get mixed up. Several times they knocked on our door and my daddy would go to the door. No, it's right down the street there. And so one night this couple insisted that our house was the justice of the peace. And Daddy says, no, this is not the justice of the peace. He's down the street. He shut the door. They rang the doorbell again. He opened it up. He said, if you all insist that I'm the justice of the peace, I'm going to bring you in the house and marry you because I want to go to bed.
So what did he do? Or what did they do, I
He
guess?
convinced them they better come down here if they wanted to be married by the justice of the peace. But, that seems so strange. But that was a Saturday night ritual sometimes. Young couples would want to get married, and they didn't have to get a license early. In advance, right, eloping. They go to a justice of the peace. So we had a lot of people stop by.
You had a lot of activity here on Bowden Street.
Well, Douglasville has not had their lack of activity, I can tell you. It's been a wonderful street. Because, Willie, the Upshaw lived in this house up there, and he was the man that ran for president.
Right.
And he was actually nominated. And he got very few votes because he ran against Franklin Roosevelt.
Yeah.
But he was nominated, so we have some history.
Not too many cities in the state of Georgia can say that.
Oh no, absolutely. So anyway, but thank you for showcasing
for sharing this with us today, and thank you for sharing it with our audience today.
Enjoyed it.
And thank you for joining us on this tour of homes today. We have some beautiful homes in the downtown area, and we have very proud homeowners. Several of them are with us today and came out and talked with us and joined the tour. As we visited other people in the neighborhood. And we thank you for joining us today on City TV.
I thought that was good. And my brother and McDonough doesn't have anything on us. And last but not least, we would like to invite Mayor Thompson up for just a few closing remarks, please.
Well, thank y'all for inviting me to join you today. And thank all of those who actually helped us celebrate during the National Travel and Tourism Week and also during the Preservation Month. This is Historic Preservation Month in the state of Georgia. But what I'd like to do at this time is recognize we have a number of elected officials, city elected officials, that are with us, and I'd like to recognize them and ask them to stand because behind the scenes they do a lot for historic preservation and the things that happen in the city. Mayor Pro Tem John Childroff is with us. Councilman Dennis McClain, over here. Councilman Sam Davis, right there.
and Councilman Larry Yockey was here, but I think he had to leave. Did I miss anybody? Okay, that's always a danger when you recognize folks, and I've missed my share, so I try not to do that. But I would also like to give a special thanks to the Convention and Visitors Advisory Board, and also to the Historic Preservation Commission for working to select the award winners that we had today. And congratulations to the winners. We are very proud of you and proud of your homes, and we're proud that you're here in Douglasville and that you share all of those with us. But I'd like to tell you a quick story about selecting winners and selecting people. I was in a historic city, Newport, Rhode Island, last week, and I took a little tour through the historic district. I like to see what other folks are doing, and it was about an hour and a half tour, and there was Millionaire Row with huge homes and things like that. But as we were driving by this one home, it had a big wall around it, and it had a lot of statues, but it was all the same person on top of the wall. And so someone asked, why did this wall have all these statues? Well, in Newport, they had a select group of 400 people. There could only be 400 people, and these were apparently the select group that always partied together and everything. And this one gentleman could not be, or was not selected over a long period of time as one of the 400. And there was one lady that controlled this selection process. And the story goes, is the way it was told, his money wasn't old enough. You had to have old money in order to be selected. So what he did, the lady lived down the street in another mansion that made the selection, and there was only one way into town. So he built this wall, and he put all these statues up so she'd have to look at him every time that she drove to town. So those people that were not selected, I hope you don't put up walls with your statues all over town. But preservation and tourism are very important to the city of Douglasville. Our historic district is a tourist attraction for people who come to our city. The Chapel Hill and Campbellton Street, without a doubt, is the gateway into our city with the beautiful homes that are here, and the properties show the pride of ownership that we have and the pride of living in the historic district. And the historic stroll that we saw, and that was my first time to see that, was a great experience for me. I hope the next mayor will take your offer, Pat, to do that and visit some other homes. You learn a lot just talking to folks. Dot? Where's Dot? She tells us a lot of stories. She left, knows a lot about it. So just walking around, hearing her talk about that was truly a pleasure for me. But once again, I want to thank each and every one who has a part of the events here really for an entire month in the city of Douglasville. And thank you again for allowing me to join you today.
Well, that concludes our evening, and as I stated earlier, if the winners would hang around to take a photograph with the mayor, we want to make certain that we recognize you by posting your photos on the website as well as on our Facebook page. Kizzy Howell, who's our Kizzy Stand Up. Kizzy is our new advertising and promotions manager. She's with us. I'm not going to say we stole her from Greystone, but she was with Greystone Power before, so she knows what she's doing, so there's not a big learning curve there. There's not a learning curve at all, but she will be taking those photographs with the winner and the mayor, and we'll have those up for you to see, to share with your family. And once again, I appreciate everything that everybody does in order to help us to pull this off, and you guys have a good night. Thank you.